all here for post-peak season insights, how to automate operations and leverage booking trends. I'm really your intro and outro. We are going to be recording this, so please, if you have to jump off, we know we started a little bit late. We will be sharing the recording and slides. You'll be able to share that with your team as well. So just a little quick overview of what we're really presenting today. We're going to present a little bit more about why we're here. Alex, founder and head of growth at Whimstay, is going to be taking you through the evolving guest booking journey, as well as some strategies to capture last-minute guests. And then Steve Davis, CEO of Operto, will also be presenting how to leverage technology in your operations, some key considerations for automating day-to-day tasks, and then how do you really get owner buy-in for solutions and adding to their tech stack to manage their properties. So without further ado, once again, you two, I'm going to hand it over to Alex and Steve, and welcome everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you, Nikki. Hey, you guys, thank you for sticking around, because Steve and I were just talking to each other, thinking that we were really crushing it when really we were not.
I thought you were brilliant, personally.
Thank you very much. You too, buddy.
Totally.
So anyways, thank you guys for being patient with us. And Steve made the comment, we're talking technology, and we just technologically dropped the ball. So the irony is rich. Okay, so here's the deal. This is one of my favorite partnerships, I'm going to say, the Whimstay Operto partnership. First of all, I love the people, but also I love what they do. And I think that this, when you look kind of at the combination of these two companies and how they can help you, I think being able, Nikki, I can stay on this for one sec. If you sort of look at every single step of this journey, all 6 steps of this journey, it looks like Whimstay's only got one of them, right? The booking process, but Operto sort of handles the others. If you don't have a firm grasp on all 6 of these steps, then the hospitality piece is going to suffer, right? So in order to kind of maintain those 5-star reviews and require all the excellence at every stage of it, it's necessary to own all 6 of these steps, which we think this is why this is kind of a partnership that makes total sense. So what does Whimstay do? Who are we? There we go. So we're founded in 2020, so we're relatively newish on the scene, but we do feel like we've made a ton of progress and growth in the last few years. We're a San Francisco-based OTA, got up to about 75 employees. We've got about 1,500 property managers, which comes to about 250,000 properties on the platform. We got about 12 million users right now. We're based just in US, Canada, and Mexico, but expansion is coming soon, so stay tuned. But what do? We are a channel very specifically tailored to helping you fill your unsold gap nights last minute, right? All about boosting occupancy. This is all about incremental revenue and net new travelers, right? And how we work is we are here to complement your diverse distribution strategy. AIRBNB came out with a stat. If you are adding new channels, your occupancy will increase by 10%. Right? So it's important to have a diverse distribution strategy, but one that makes sense, right? So if you look at this quick little graph here, whether or not you're using all 3 of these or any of these, irrelevant, I think you'll get the idea, right? But you use Vrbo to handle your 180 to 90 days out, you use Airbnb to handle your 90 to 30 days out, and then you take Whimstay to handle anything that is 30 days and under. This allows you a real diverse distribution strategy with new travelers in each piece, where you can, if you kind of follow some of the stuff that we're talking about, bring those travelers back direct next time. And so I think that's a nice segue into what Operto is doing and what they'll do for you.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. And again, apologies everyone for hanging out backstage. So yeah, Operto is about creating software solutions that make the running of your day-to-day property management business easier, right? As Alex alluded to on one of the previous slides, it's about owning that guest journey from the moment that they book and they're really excited to go on that vacation, all the way through to the moment they close the door and cleaning, housekeeping, maintenance comes in and turns the house over. And it's really about how do you deliver exceptional stays to every guest every single time? Because at the end of the day, we're trying to drive 5-star reviews. We're trying to drive, word of mouth. We're trying to drive, all the things that are the downstream effect of a fantastic, fantastic stay. So we're talking about how do you put software and hardware solutions into that guest journey that makes sense not only for your business, but also add value to the guest, but also take some of the day-to-day operational luggage out of your day-to-day. So we want to really make things simple and accessible for you. Our solutions are really meant to fall into one of these 4 buckets. Okay, so as a property manager, these are the things that sort of keep you awake at night, and you're always trying to kind of get better at them. So the first one is amazing guest stays. How do you eliminate friction to deliver genuine hospitality? Because a lot of our property management companies are, buried in the day-to-day and are unfortunately taken out of that delivery of true hospitality. So how do we get back to our roots? How do we generate more revenue? I think, with inflation and ADRs and all the sort of pressure that's happening on property managers, how are we able to potentially create incremental revenue that drives, again, your business forward? Automating operations, this one's fairly simple. You can't effectively scale, go from, 5 to 10 to 50 to 100 units if you are trying to just do that by adding on humans. It's not efficient. So how do you, again, automate operations that makes sense for you, but also sort of allow you to avoid a lot of the chaos that's involved in running a property management business? And I think the last one is, impressing the owner. So ensuring that you have the technology in that stack that is driving, these buckets, the great reviews, the additional revenue, et cetera, because you will attract the best owners, you will retain owners, and you will be able to scale your business. When we look at sort of what Operto's doing from a sort of technology deliveries perspective, post booking, so you go on Whimstay, you book your stay, and then we sort of take care of the guests sort of pre-stay, in-stay, and post-stay. And we deliver that through 3 sort of main buckets. The first one is our guest application, which sort of gets them ready for the journey. What are the things they can expect? What are the things that they want to be doing while they're on vacation? Who are the the communication layer, which is critical to, ensuring that you're getting the guests ready for a great stay. The technology, smart locks, sensors, we'll get to that a little bit later on, but those just add a lot of ease of sort of operational day-to-day operations. And then the last one, which is a headache, which will never go away, unfortunately, is cleaning, housekeeping, maintenance, et cetera. So that Teams module to make sure that you're turning over the property efficiently and you can get ready for the next guest. So over to Alex.
All right. So the busy season is kind of almost over for most of you. So maybe everyone wants to take a breath. Because it's been, look, I mean, I think for some it's been nuts. For others, it's been what the heck happened. And I think it's sort of all over the map. And but regardless of that, I know that everybody worked really hard this summer. So anyways, you've earned it. You've earned it. And we've got some cool stuff coming down the pike, right? So I want to talk a little bit about this kind of evolving new booking journey and sort of the evolving new traveler, which I'll kind of get into a little bit. But first, here's I think I'm doing I didn't actually write this title. There's a season earn. Yeah. I believe that's the birds. That's turn. So that's, I think, if that's the case and I'm wrong, please correct me. But how this summer went, right? So starting really strong year-over-year growth. This is on Whimstay, by the way, right? So 80% of all of our bookings were last minute. Our top states were Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Oregon, and South Carolina. So they all kind of vibe. The micro vacations were up, right? So what that means is, and this is something we can get into a little bit later, and this is also going to talk about the hospitality piece a little, but with this kind of very strong tailwind of the next gen traveler, this younger traveler, they're traveling a lot more. So this summer, what we noticed was less about that week-long vacation, right? And more about like multiple 3 to 4 day long vacations. It encapsulates about 3 to 4 people. And we're seeing our average distance was about 300 miles. So they're mostly drive to. So that's really cool. Now, what do we have to look forward to in this season right now? 50% increase we're seeing in fall and winter bookings. So one of our dreams, and we think we can attain it, is the death of the shoulder season. Wouldn't that be nice? And so that's something that we really want to work on, because travel is becoming something very different, particularly with these younger generations. So we're seeing about a 50% increase in fall and winter bookings. So if getting bookings this fall is something that's important to you, there's ways to do it. Our top states, Florida, Tennessee, Oregon, and then those kind of were vibing. Colorado and California were a little bit different. California too, less San Diego, more Big Bear Mammoth. So a little bit more of a mountain scene. And then the top search amenities have been hot tub, right? Makes sense. Fire makes sense. Pet friendly, always going to make sense. And then Wi-Fi, right? So this is going to be super important. I think workspace and Wi-Fi is really important for these kind of mud seasons, as you might call in Utah, because these are folks that are just saying, hey, I want to work from home, just not my home, right? This is a massive, massive trend in the industry and something that we're seeing. So make sure your Wi-Fi is up to date. If you got office space, show it off. Cool. So let's do a little poll, shall we? So what does your occupancy look like for the rest of the year? This is a really interesting question, okay? So take a look at this. Okay, we're going to give it a second. 50% booked, 70% booked, 90% booked, fully booked, or less than 50%. Let's take a second. Go ahead and do that. I'm not allowed to vote, apparently. That's what it's telling me. But I do have some thoughts about what this is. Ooh, they're already up. So 50% book, we're seeing about 26%. 70, we're seeing about 20%. That 90% is about 5%. Great. Fully booked, obviously, is at 0. And then less than 50% is at 47. Okay. So that is super telling. I'm also going to say it's very in tune with the industry. And a lot of it, we think, has to do with these shorter booking windows. So Steve and I did a really fascinating panel last week with Jennifer Mucha from Arrived. She's a fabulous property manager with a lot of properties in the Northwest of the United States and Hawaii. And she mentioned a lot, and I'd be interested to see if this was the case with some of you, was that the occupancy is maybe a little bit lower rest of the year, but as it comes closer to the date, those occupancies are starting to go up. In other words, have booking windows shrunk considerably. It's that these are not booked out right now, but they will be booked out 3-4 weeks closer to check-in. So a really sort of an interesting trend in the industry that's tough to ignore at this point. So last minute, how do you, that was a brilliant segue. How do you capture those last minute guests? Own the end game, right? So I talk a little bit about highlighting leisure-friendly amenities, right? So there's a couple of things people are doing. Number one, they're going to conferences, they're going to meetings away, and they're extending those stays by a little bit here and a little bit there, right? Front back or front loading or back loading that vacation a little bit, right? So that they can work from that spot. The other thing that they're doing, and we're seeing this all the time, we are located in the Bay Area. It's not uncommon for someone to be in San Francisco and say on a Tuesday, you know what? Why don't I just go up to Lake Tahoe for 4 days and smell the pines and work from there? So making sure to highlight any leisure-friendly amenities or work from home amenities you might have. Season-specific hero images. So if you are in a spot where leaves are changing, maybe the first photo should be of beautiful leaves, right? And trees and things like that. So take wherever your area is. If there is a highlight that you can highlight for these fall and as we get into winter seasons, right? And not counting those their high seasons or winter, you know what to highlight then, right? But what can we tempt them with, right? And also, again, highlighting potentially office space, things like that. Upping your Insta and TikTok game. So a lot of these travelers that I've mentioned before, right? So the work from home, just not your home, sort of taking those mini micro vacations. A lot of those folks are a very specific traveler. It's that next gen traveler. So these are, I would say, Gen Z, Gen Y, millennial travelers. They travel 7 to 8 times a year as opposed to once a year. They love vacation rentals for experience purposes. They love experience. They love to show the world that, hey, I am in this really cool part of Colorado right now. Check it out. Here it is on my Instagram. And they are finding things via Instagram and TikTok. So if you do not have a robust sort of social media game, take a look at it because there's a ton of benefit for it, right? I'll say one thing that I've been reading recently is that some of the most popular or the best way sometimes to get folks in is using an influencer, right? Instead of doing written reviews, these next gen travelers are making their decisions based on videos. So a lot of times it's an influencer walking through one of your properties and talking about how beautiful the property is, or you walking through the property, putting it on your thing and talking about how beautiful that property is. Sometimes that's got a little bit more cachet for those travelers than just a written review. And then discounts to your friends, right? So this is the beauty about the relationship with Operto. The thing that we always say, some money is better than no money. End of story. So there's a lot of things that you can say about, I don't want to discount last minute. But the fact of the matter is, heads and beds is going to be more beneficial to you at the end of the day than not. Higher occupancy, net new travelers that you could bring back, direct next time. It just makes more sense. So have good discounts that are last minute, that you think are going to highlight your property. In this way, we're going to start to diversify your distribution strategy, attracting net new guests. And then this is the tail, and this is how we tie this into Operto. With these folks, we'll talk about this next gen traveler again. How do we get them to go from vacation rentals and not go to hotels anymore? The number one thing is going to be hospitality. The number one thing is going to be hospitality. As our industry provides value, our industry provides more space, our industry provides more privacy. Our industry is better across the board for this generation. What we need to match up to is the hospitality piece. So having yourself dialed on that post-booking spot so that everything is dialed in, so that they're like, you know what? That was a flawless hospitality experience. Maybe I'm going back to that property manager direct. And if I'm not going back to that property manager direct, I'm definitely going to a short-term rental again. And that's when the rising boats rises all tides, whatever that phrase is that I mess up every time. So took a lot of time on that slide, but I do think it's important, which leads us to poll number 2. What percentage of your bookings are within the last 30 days? Less than 10, less than 20, or more than 20%? So right now we've got some stats that show 60% of all bookings in the US, this is from Key Data, 60% of all bookings in the US in 2023 and 2024 were, 60% of them were 30 days or less. It's a massive, massive number, right? So there we go. So less than 10%, about 28%, less than 20, about 8%. So, and then it looks like more than 20% are at 67. So I think that we're all sort of seeing that shorter booking window is now, it's probably here to stay. So the best thing that we can do is, how do we capitalize on these last minute bookings? And then how do you leverage the technology to support it? So Steve.
Great. Thanks, Alex. That's awesome, awesome data there for sure. So how do you leverage technology to support, the Whimstay model, which is showing that, there's a ton of people that are looking for bookings with less than 30 days. And so, but you do need a little bit of technology to make sure that goes flawlessly. So let's look at obstacles, right? When they're checking in, these are the things that we are told time and time again. These are the pain points that I need you to solve for. So getting confusing instructions, getting things lost in inboxes, getting, basically getting misinformation or information that's not good enough for the guest to be able to sort of self-serve. Too many sources of information. So just kind of bombarding the guests with different, on different channels. And let's be honest, and back to Alex's point, if we're going to keep folks from checking into hotels, we got to basically give them a hotel experience outside of a hotel, because there are sky high expectations. And this is something that come definitely off the back of COVID. People are just expecting more. And so vacation rentals have to sort of play and box in the same ring as hotels. So again, how do you do that? On the property management side, manual processes waste so much time. I'm sure we could talk about this in an entire webinar. There's just too many things that should be automated that AI and all the latest tools can really help you with. Last minute bookings, strain on the daily operations. You weren't expecting these people to come, and now you've got to make sure you can accommodate for it. And then sort of fragmented technology, which is, you've got a tech stack, which the pieces don't actually fit together. And so you're actually just confusing and ultimately making your guest angry. So just next slide there. So one of the things that we always talk about is guest verification, especially on the last minute bookings. You want to make sure that that you know who the person is that's checking in, because at the end of the day, you're not only protecting your business, your reputation, et cetera, but you're also looking at how do I protect the asset that I might be managing for a property owner, right? You wear a lot of hats there. So, you know, getting some verification in is really, really critical, especially when we're looking at sort of those last minute travelers. We need to look at how do we prevent property damage by screening out bad apples. And there are a number of tools that that we can help you with. We partner with AutoHost. You know, they are the best in the industry for sure, making sure that you're not letting those bad apples into your property. It will have a measurable impact on your bottom line. So, you know, increase in revenue, manual working on screening and sort of that kind of timing goes way, way, way down. And then the most important thing is actually the reduction in chargebacks, because this is something that's become more prevalent over the last few years. And tools like AutoHost and verification allow you to really see a noticeable decrease in chargebacks. So that's something that we always want our customers to be looking at. The other piece is there's lots of money that gets left on the table. It doesn't matter if you're in short-term rentals or hotels. When someone's going on vacation, they have a budget, they want to spend it, they want experiences, they want to be able to, you know, really engage with the local community and do those kind of cool things that they might not have been able to do at home. You need to figure out how to tap into that, right? So there are upsells that are sort of on the experiential side, but there's also basics like, you know, filling groceries, making sure that the sort of basics are done before you arrive. Okay, there are multiple ways of doing this, of driving revenue. So, you know, affiliate commissions, looking at partnering with some of the local businesses. What are some of the in-house offerings? We see a lot of people taking up things like early check-in, late checkout, you know, pet cleaning fees, in-stay cleaning fees. So if they're staying for a little bit longer, they want someone to come mid-stay. All those things are possible, and they're great ways of driving revenue at the end of the day. When we look at some of the results, I mean, this is one we just pulled out from one of our customers, and we have dozens and dozens of data points on this stuff. I mean, you know, we have a customer who's got 88 units that they're offering upsells. You know, there's 2,400-ish reservations that came through. I mean, 959 purchases for an additional 86,000 for that property manager. I mean, that is significant amount of money. You can sort of look at the averages, but it's really, really cool to see. And these are basic things that you can operate, or so you can realize if you've got your operations dialed, right? Especially when you look at something like an Operto Teams, or something that can allow you to turn over the property quickly. You know, those early check-ins and late checkouts become something that you can monetize quite easily, pet fees, et cetera. So you're not looking, it's not a burden on your business. It's something that people are looking for. So just offer it to them, and our tools can help you with that kind of stuff. Asset protection, again, there's loads of these that we can help with. You know, noise monitoring, smoke monitors, you know, being able to control the temperature of the unit. You know, if you're in the mountains and someone's cranking that temperature up to make them feel like they're in Cancun, you know, the ability to be able to pull that temperature down once the booking is over, and making sure that you're not driving your electricity bills through the roof. You know, asset protection, these are places where you can not only protect the house, but you can also, you know, you can make sure that you're getting ahead of like bills and protecting margin as well. So these are some of the tools that we use. You know, noise monitoring is an important one, especially when you're talking about last minute guests, because you might be getting you know, some folks that you really want to make sure that they're not coming there for the wrong reason. And these devices allow you to really protect your asset. Sorry, this was one of our customers again. Some of you might know Will from Hospitality FM, but this is a quote that he sort of said. You know, I can tell my owners that not only do they have insurance, but there's multiple levels of protection around the property, and that's really what property owners are looking for. Is, does the property manager have my best have my interests really at the top of their mind every single day, and that's really important to convey to your owners. So I think is it over to you? Nope, might be still me. Tips for last minute turnover automation. Oh, sorry, this is me. Yeah. So poll number 3, do you currently use any end of stay software? So there's a few on the market. There's Operto, there's Breezeway. You know, you use something in your PMS. You know, we like to do it manually through Excel. I can't imagine why, but some people still do. Or you maybe use a different solution. So it'd be just interesting to see where people are at with that.
Should we talk about that picture of Will? Because he looked
Yeah, I mean, on his grade 12 graduation, I mean, he looked fantastic that day. I mean, I hope he had a prom date that looked as good as he did, right?
It's funny.
Okay, there you go. So we got some Teams lovers. We got, some folks using Breezeway. At the end of the day, what we're really trying to get here at is the efficiency of your day-to-day operations, and being able to turn these units over quickly is really going to make a huge difference in not only asset protection, margin control, et cetera. So really look into these tools, because they're really valuable for you. Okay, trends we're seeing. I'm going to go really quickly because I know we started a little bit late. Okay, it's, especially on, again, we're talking sort of the day-to-day operations. Impossible to keep schedules up to date. Very, very difficult. Staff can't remember the unique needs of each home. Do you have a consistent, because every home is different. So to have one list that you think you can, it will cover all bases, unlikely. So do you, is there a way that they can access lists easily and make sure that they can accommodate for those unique house needs? Managers lack the field visibility to respond quickly. Maintenance, it's like these issues kind of pile up. Have they been dealt with? Who dealt with them? It's really important, again, that you kind of have it all under one roof. Communication time with ownership is consuming and all encompassing, as we know, and it can be really messy. And it's really difficult, to forecast like laundry and linen and all these things, again, that allow you to turn the units over quickly to get the next guests in, and ensure that the backside of that stay is 5-star. So some of the tips and tricks: set up automatic notifications for your cleaning team based on checkout times. Customize those checklists, because every unit, every property is slightly different. Build a familiarity with the property and the cleaning team. Give managers, a dashboard visibility to access and respond to those sort of last minute tasks. Automate maintenance orders and set them to sort of recurring. Consider a platform that can kind of handle all of that. Owners know you have tools in place to support last minute stays and increase their revenues. They want to know that you can actually do this, because businesses like Whimstay are becoming very, very, very important in your channel strategy. So they want to know that you've got tools that can actually leverage those channels. And, it's really difficult to forecast, and making sure that your integrations sync and they sync frequently. So make sure that you got those tips and tricks, and you'll be in a really great place. Over to you, Alex.
This is me. It was me. That was a lot of Steve Davis, but I loved it. All right.
Sorry about that, but it was, yeah.
I loved it, man. I loved it. I was into it. All right. So best practices for owner buy-in on last minute booking. So let's dive into this a little bit. So look, this is trust but verify, right? So I know that that last minute travelers kind of have let's just elephant in the room, right? There's that boogeyman quality to the last minute traveler. Well, we're not seeing that be the case as much anymore, but it does require a certain amount of diligence, right? First, I want to say this on the incremental revenue piece. Really, really important, right? So discounts, I mentioned this before. Really important to notice that if you look at this as a graph that we put together, when you go up to even a 20% discount last minute, that's $1,600 incremental revenue off of just 5 bookings, right? Incremental revenue. So it's just really, really important, I think, to note and to have a good strategy around it. Guest verification, really, really important. Now, we're doing guest verification on our side. You guys should be doing guest verification on your side, making sure there's so much great technology out there just to ensure that the guest that's coming in is a groovy guest, and one that you're going to love, and then be able to really kind of pour your heart into it. Great hospitality, bring them back direct next time. Cancellation policies. Whimstay's got a strict no cancellation policy, and the idea is this: like, you're getting an awesome vacation rental last minute at a really, really good price. It's a final sale site, right? It's Nordstrom Rack or TJ Maxx or whatever it is, right? This is overstock. You're getting a great discount on it. It's a final sale site. So ours is 0 to 60 days on that. Smaller group sizes, right? Like, if now our average lead time is about 11 days, right? So it's not 2 days or anything. It's about 11 days. Our average length of stay is about 4.5 days, right? So that you kind of get it. And then if you're looking at 3 to 4 people on that, that's a solid booking. I think it is, right? You've done some guest verification. We're good to go. If it's a 48-hour one and it's 13 people in one of your bigger houses right on the beach, maybe that's a little sketchy. So I think just, take a look at those smaller group sizes. Big groups are great, but let's verify, let's make sure that maybe that lead time isn't, too shrunk. Sometimes maybe take a look at the guests themselves. If, you're in Lake Tahoe and the guest is from Lake Tahoe and they're booking a 12-person house 48 hours before, that's probably something to look into. So something really important to note there. Trust, but verify. Oh my God, that's it?
It went that fast.
Really did. So thank you very much, you guys. Apologies for us being technologically inadept. That was our fault, not Nikki's.
But we had a great time, and hopefully you all took some value from that. And as you kind of come out of that crazy summer and you start to reevaluate sort of what does 2025 look like for your business, and how are you going to do all these amazing things, with your portfolio that you want to do, look into, your channel strategy, look into your tech stack, look into all these things that are the easy fixes that can really help you drive, growth and make a big difference, in your next big season.
Yep.
Awesome. We actually have a new dynamic audience Q&A. So Rose actually has a question for you. Rose, I have unmuted you if you'd like to ask the question yourself. Just seeing. All right. So Rose's question was, I have a vacation house in Europe. Do you work in that market also?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Alex, you want to? Yeah, I'll go first. Rose, one of our biggest markets is Europe. We have an office in Barcelona. Absolutely. So hopefully that's an easy one.
Yep, we are launching full launch in Europe beginning of Q4. So coming up.
Awesome. And then we've got Brian as well here. What tools, if any, are offered through Operto to highlight time-sensitive issues like noise and others at large scale? Maybe break down the owner dashboard a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, all the important things that you need to be notified of appear in your owner dashboard. So that's, if there's alerts that you've set, whatever those might look like. Every dashboard looks slightly different, but the whole point there is that you're staying on top of everything. And then Operto Teams as well, right? There's ways we can set up. Everyone's business is slightly different. How you want to be notified what's going on the day-to-day is really up to you, and we can customize that to really work with the way you want to run your business.
Awesome. We have another question here, wondering more about the discounts piece. So the question is, doesn't discounts attract bargain seekers who don't really respect the property, Alex?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that's sort of what I mentioned before with the elephant in the room. Of course, that element's always going to be there in any sort of scenario. People just looking for value. Now, what we are finding again is a couple things on this piece, right? Number one, we're seeing with this new generation that they are searching for value over place. In other words, and this is really interesting, they're saying, again, I'm using this as an example because this is where I am, but I'm in San Francisco on a Wednesday and I say, how much is it going to be for me to spend the weekend in, I don't know, Lake Tahoe or something? And they go and check and then they say, oh, well, that value is there, so I'm going to go and do it. It's just the way that it is, right? And so in terms of it's, there's a couple things to it. People are spontaneous minded. People are also very intelligent about value, but also you're always going to have the folks that are going to be booking 180 to 90 days out. That's never going to go away. You're always going to have the folks that are booking 90 to 30 days out. That's never going to go away. My wife and I just took a vacation. I booked it 3 months in advance. Right? It's just always going to be the case. So what you are getting with a last minute site like Whimstay and a discount site like Whimstay is you are allowing yourself to fill in the blanks, filling in gap nights, filling in last minute cancellations, filling out nights that otherwise are going to go unsold. And if that's discounted at 15%, that's a heck of a lot better than that bed going on empty. So that's the idea. Incremental revenue and then net new travelers, which is really, really important, right? These are new travelers you didn't know before. And you get to work your magic with your Operto tech stack to kind of make it so they come back the next time, right? This is just really, really important stuff in hospitality. So
Yeah, I love that, Alex. And like every business is different. It's very modular. You have to make it work for where your pain points are and where the friction lies in your operations. It's different for everyone right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then just to piggyback on that, right? Like do what's best for your company. I'm not going to force this thing down your throat, right? Look at your own occupancy. If for you, last minute occupancy is a pain point, then take a look. If it's not, awesome. Good for you. That's great, right? So it's like, whatever is best for you guys is really the end of it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a couple more here. I know we're at time. We're going to squeeze these in. Had a bit of a compliment, insightful presentation, you two. Well done. But are there any specific guest demographics that property managers should focus on for this post-peak season, this next shoulder?
Yeah, I'm
like
just
literally the topic we did in Phoenix, like
exactly right, exactly right. It's
the next gen.
That's why I'm jumping on this. I mentioned before, Stephen, I did a panel at the Streamline conference about the next gen traveler. It's the Gen Z, Gen Y traveler. It's how they travel. They travel multiple times a year. They will travel during shoulder season because they can work from home, just not their home. So yes, absolutely. And that's why I sort of had mentioned in a slide, make sure your social media game is on point because attracting those travelers, that is a wave of travelers. Brian Chesky from Airbnb referred to them as the golden age of traveler. They travel a lot. They use vacation rentals. It's our industry's strongest tailwind. So I would definitely say that's a demo you want to look at.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, there's quite a few more questions that have come through. So how does Whimstay work if our PMS system isn't listed as a partner you work with? So is there more of a manual plugin? What does that look like?
Great question. So currently right now, we are only working with professionally managed property managers on a PMS that we are integrated with. However, we are creating a portal right now for individual hosts, RBOs, we call them. And what that's going to be able to do is also allow us to connect to property managers that are on a PMS that we're not integrated with. But if you want to throw in the chat, whatever that PMS is, I can always let you know if we are in the process of integrating. I think we're integrated currently with about 20 PMS and channel managers and all the big major ones. And then the idea is obviously to continue we have an integrations team whose job is to make that happen. So, but thank you. Good question.
That's awesome. That's awesome. John's using Cloudbeds right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Cloudbeds it's on the roadmap.
Love it.
Aren't they all?
And someone was asking if you integrate with Zeevoo.
We do not.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's unfortunately 500 PMSs out there, so it's hard to.
Yeah. But we do have channel managers too. So if you're on Zeevoo and Rentals United or something like that, that way we could connect.
Yeah. Okay, I know we're at time, but there are a few more good questions. So let's stick around. Let's dive in a little bit more. I've got a twofold question here from Benjamin, trying to understand. So first bit's for you, Alex, like Whimstay is unique travelers that are not necessarily on Airbnb or booking through Vrbo. Are the discounts, if you're offering discounts through Airbnb and Vrbo, is this not cannibalizing? What is kind of the differentiator there?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the best way to think about here's the deal is that for our 29-day last minute window, we do have a data validation that ensures that we're going to be the lowest. And I understand that you're sending those discounts that way. You're always going to get those people that are going to go there. I think that the people that are coming to our site are doing a couple things. Number one, they're specifically looking because they're a little bit more spontaneous minded, right? And so those are people that maybe wouldn't be going to Airbnb and Vrbo otherwise. And then the other thing that we're doing, and then and I think the other thing is, which is important to note, right, is people that are going to go to Airbnb are always going to go to Airbnb. They're always going to go to Vrbo. You're never going to lose those people, and you're never going to lose. It's incremental revenue. And it's just for people that have a very, very sort of specific way of traveling.
Awesome. And then Steve, this second part from Ben is for you, really understanding if we're flexible to work with various tech stacks, examples, background checks, lock platforms, do we need to integrate with our preferred vendors? How does that work with Operto?
Variety is the spice of life. We have definitely, our integration partners are as wide as the ocean is deep. We have a lot of things you can choose from. We've got different, from on the hardware side for sure. I mean, that's where we sort of built our business off of sort of all those integrations. And so we have a wide variety of manufacturers that we work with. On the PMS side, same story. So, best thing is just to honestly just let us know. Just ping us, tell us what you're looking to do and what you're working with currently. And at the end of the day, we're not trying to make this a incredibly expensive process where you've got to rip locks and things off doors and change hardware out, et cetera, et cetera. Where possible, we really want to make this as like low touch and cost effective for you. And let us work with you to figure that one out.
Yeah. And Jesse, here for you, Alex, is Whimstay the payment processor of record, merchant of record?
Yes, Whimstay is merchant of record. Yep. And our low commission, 5% commission, and we'll handle fraud and credit card fees and all that stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. And then another question from Jesse, how does this work with pricing software that automatically discounts? Where does this plug in come together?
So ultimately the discount's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to how you want to do it, right? Currently we'll get pushed to price, and then we will chat and negotiate with your account manager. You're going to have a dedicated account manager and figure out a discount off that's going to make the most sense. But that's a really good question. Yeah. But again, it's up to you. It's going to be up to you.
Awesome. And Benjamin, last question here. He sees uplisting on the Operto list in terms of integrations, but can't seem to find it on Whimstay. Is that part of the roadmap?
Yes, uplisting we're in certification for right now. So certification is in layman terms, that is the last step of the integration process. So very soon. Yeah.
Awesome. I think that's what we kind of have today. Thank you both very much. There's a few other questions here. I'm just going to stay and give you a typed answer. We'll be able to follow up. This was awesome. You guys are asking deep questions, putting these two to the test.
I love it.
And it clearly shows that you're spending the time to investigate with technology providers. And that's something that I know we at Operto and Steve and I have chatted about, is vet your vendors, ask the hard questions, and make sure that it works for your business. So thanks everyone.
One last thing. Can I say one last thing? That what we are seeing, I know ADRs are weird. I know that occupancy is weird. Let me say something. What we are seeing is that this industry is going to explode. We really think that. And we know that a lot of it is on hospitality and sort of engaging these new guests. So everything you guys are doing is awesome. You guys are rad. You're in a great place, in a great industry. Keep being amazing. That's all I got. I had to get it in. I had to squeeze it in.
Love it. No, I know you do. I love it. Awesome. All right. That's what we have. We have a few other questions. Our teams are going to follow up with you all. Thank you all for your time dealing with us through the technical difficulties. We've got plenty more sessions to have together. There's so much content here, and we're going to have to get more hyper-focused. So thanks, everyone. And until next time.